looking to go through a few real-world solutions that a customer might use. Now, it's a hypothetical customer. They don't exist. So yeah, just get that out of the way pretty quick. They're called flash services. And really what I want to go through today is a little bit about flash services, who they are, what products they're using, why they're using those particular products, and then go into two distinct use cases, right? One's going to be essentially a government customer of theirs that they've got going from Canberra to Sydney, pretty topical because we're launching the Canberra to Sydney service on that 25th of June date. And then we've also got a little bit of how that sort of ties into other product sets, what the customer can buy to build that solution. We've also, in addition to that, got a second use case, which is more around flash services and how they utilize NBN POIs, how they have that set up for aggregation and how they use our products to do that. So, with that said, this is flash services. As you can see, they're using a strategic mix of products here. So you've got managed lease line, you've got dark fibre, you've got a wholesale wavelength service, you've got our ICF foundation for a regional-based service out down the bottom there. And then you've got intercity wavelength, and then also obviously our existing wavelength services on the inland there, going from that sort of Sydney to Brisbane type scenario. Probably a little bit out of whack in terms of where the actual pitches and stuff are, but all good. So from that, what does actually show, right? Really, there's a product for every scenario, right? Managed lease line, in terms of how that operates. It's more sort of rural, regional type stuff. I've worked with a number of the companies here. Managed lease lines used in places like Alice Springs, out in sort of really remote sort of areas where we've got network there. So it goes to show that's available, but then there's also a product for sort of every scenario here. So you've got wholesale wavelength, sort of the Perth to Adelaide sort of portion there. Now the customer may have some foundation regional customers, so they're going to use the ICF foundation service in that particular area down there. And that enables them to drop in and drop out of the network. They want to splice in, splice out, dark fibre for the whole area. They're able to do that with that product. And then, as we've sort of mentioned before, we've got our intercity wavelength with Sydney to Canberra coming up and running really soon. And then, metro dark fibre to tie it all together. Last but not least, there's Telstra wholesale internet as well. Now with the Telstra wholesale internet product, it sort of ties this all together from a flash services perspective, because flash services are really, they're an NBN aggregator, and they've also have some really bespoke solutions for customers as well, whether it's like government or something along those lines. Moving into the first use case, this is the intercity wavelength connecting through dark fibre to a customer presence. So if you look at what we've got here, pretty straightforward, right? Got something from CDC Data Centre in Canberra up to Haymarket Data Centre, which is a Telstra site in Sydney. Now, imagine the Reserve Bank. Reserve Bank want a service from Canberra Data Centre up to Haymarket Data Centre. Then you look in a little bit further here. You then have a dark fibre, metro dark fibre service from the Haymarket Data Centre to Martin Place as an example for the Reserve Bank, right? Now, what does this give the end customer? I think is the most important. Reliability, security, you've got wavelength, you've got dark fibre. It's basically the most secure, nailed up connection you can have between those locations. From that, you've got flash services. They're able to purchase colo space at Haymarket, purchase colo space from a third party or even ourselves in Canberra, and then they're able to run their own equipment over the top. So they're providing an end-to-end service for the customer, and it gives the end customer security, reliability. I think from that particular scenario, right, I think it's a good example. Flash Services pulls together Telstra products. We've got the products that enable them to do that, and it can be built as a service for the customer that gets them the right outcome as well. Just sort of a bit of a summary of the solution. So we've got wavelength from an ICF perspective, so we're using across the whole product set here. We've got Telstra or third-party co-location, so in that particular case it's Haymarket. Haymarket's going through a bit of a revival at the moment, but should be ready if you want to purchase something in December 2025, if I recall correctly. And then you've got the customer premise, which is Martin Place for Reserve Bank as a hypothetical example, right?